you look at circling the expression equivalent to the sum of. So I'm going to look at this one. The sum of 3 and 2. The sum of, okay, so the sum of 3 and 2.
Put that in parentheses.
Mm-hmm. Divided by 1/3. Divided by 1/3.
Yes.
So if I took that and I wrote that expression out, does it make it easier to find the equivalent expression?
Yes.
So there's one up there that kind of reaches out and smacks you in the face because it's right there. It matches what I wrote, right? There is another one though. So there's here.
But the one on the end because divided by 1/3 is in the front.
You cannot switch your division, so it's not the fourth one. You cannot. 16 divided by 4 is not the same as 4 divided by 16. You cannot do that. So it cannot be this. So can I, let's see, the sum of 3 and 2 divided by 1/3. Would this give me the same answer?
No.
So are they equivalent?
No.
No. The sum of 3 and 2 divided by 1/3. Divided by 3 divided by 1/3.
It's different because it's not 1/3.
Well, let's actually see. This one I'm actually going to work it because I looked at it differently this morning. So let's see if it actually works. 3 plus 2 divided by 3. So this would be 5/3. That's what I would get, 5/3. So let me see if this one would actually give me 5/3. That's as far as I'm going is 5/3. So I'm going to write this one and see if I would get 5/3. I'm not, that's just as far as I'm going. Yes, I know it's improper and I would need to keep working, but I just want to see if I can get 5/3. 5 divided by 1/3. Keep, switch, flip. Nope.
15
Just that. So it's not equivalent because that one would be 5 divided by 3. Or, sorry, 3 plus 2 divided by 3, not divided by 1/3.
Yeah.
This one would actually be the times 1/3. Circle the expression or expressions. There can be more than one. Equivalent to 28 divided by the difference between, so 28 divided by the difference between 4/5 and 7/10.
When you get to it,
All right, Abby, what do you say?
the first one and the second one.
Okay, the first one, 28 divided by the difference between 4/5 and 7/10. And then you're saying the third one. So this one is saying the difference of 4/5 and 7/10 divided by 28. Would that give me the same answer?
No.
No.
I just don't have the other one.
28 divided by the difference of 7/10, and 4/5.
It's the
Can you
get the same answer? Yeah.
You will not get the same answer.
Because if I change it to the same
7/10 is actually smaller than 4/5. You can't subtract that.
I didn't think about that.
If you got a common denominator, thank you for thinking of that. You would need a common denominator that's 8/10. You can't subtract that. You would get a negative. You can't work it. You can't work it. You can divide it. You cannot work it in 5th grade. So this isn't it. This isn't it. You cannot switch your subtraction and you cannot switch your division in 5th grade. This does not say the same thing. This is something divided by 28. This is 28 divided by. Plus, if you look at your difference between 4/5 and 7/10, it has 4/5 first. So this one has 4/5 and 7/10. So the only other option is this one. Now, does that mean that it is the answer? No, because it's got the S in parentheses and saying there could be more than one. So we need to look at it. 28 with a line over 4/5, 7/10. So I've got the difference of 4/5 and 7/10 with 28 on top, and then a subtraction problem down below. What does this line mean?
Division.
It means division. I made a fraction. This is 28 over a subtraction problem. This is a fraction. 28 divided by this problem.
I'm so
See, it's like 12 over 6. 12 divided by 6 is improper fraction.
See, I got it right. But I second guess myself.
I'm sorry, what?
Can you do something like that again?
So if I could even work it for you and show you how those are both equal. So 28 divided by, if you had, let's see, 8/10 minus 7/10. 28 divided by 1/10. Keep, switch, flip, you get 280. 28 divided by 4/5 over 7/10. 4/5 minus 7/10, my bad. 28. 8/10 minus 7/10. So that's still 28 divided by. That line, it's a fraction. So it's divided by. 28 divided by 1/10. Keep, switch, flip.
Oh, wow.
It's just like when we write a fraction. A number over a number. This is just a number over a problem. You have to work the problem to get the number. Then you just work it. That's why a lot of times they just had the expression and they don't tell you to solve it.
Because it's difficult.
Because it's difficult. That was just an example. I just was just showing how that line is just a division line and a fraction. So I made it 2. 6 divided by 3. That line is a divided by line.
3.
Fraction. Oh, sorry. 2. Sorry. But it's still the divided by line on a fraction. That line on a fraction is the divided by line. Me too. So on number 3, they're giving you the words. They just want you. It's not as hard. We've done this. This is why you use the highlighters. They give you the words. All you have to do is write the expression. This is why we do the highlighters. Half as much as the difference between 2 1/4 and 3/8. You don't have to solve it. All you have to do is write the expression. What is half as much? How would you write that?
1/2 divided by 1.
How would you write 2 times as much? 3 times as much? How would you write that? 2 times, 3 times. How do you write half as much?
1/2. 1/2.
With what operation? Times. If it's 2 times as much, 3 times as much, double the. If it's 2 times as much, 3 times as much, half as much. How is this any different from that?
It's not. It's just.
It's not. It's just a fraction.
Because you were not talking about it.
I didn't talk you out of it. You talked yourself out of it. You were right. You were saying division. I was trying to talk you out of that. Half as much as. Okay.
Oh.
1/2. Half. How do you write half?
1/2.
1/2. The difference between. How do you write that? Subtracting. 2 1/4 and 3/8.
Wouldn't it be easier to just multiply? Subtract that first, then multiply it.
That's what you're supposed to. That's why you put it in front. Okay, I want you to try to do B, C, and D. The difference between 2 1/4 and 3/8 divided by 4. Now, I saw some people that were doing this. Or this. So there's a difference in both of those expressions. This one is 4 divided by the difference of those two numbers. This one is the difference of divided by 4. If you write the expression and then read it, what you wrote, to yourself, you'll see if it matches. I know y'all don't really do that. You should. You wait for me to tell you whether you're right or wrong. You should go back and go 4 divided by the difference of 2 1/4 and 3/8. Does that match that?
No.
No. But if you wrote this, you're wrong. You should have gone back to check your expression to see if it matches what's up here. The difference of 2 1/4 and 3/8 divided by 4. A third of the sum of 7/8 and 22/10. Yes, I am aware that 22/10 is improper, but it's in the middle of a problem. Who cares? The only time it's important is where?
Your answer.
We answer. Because when you're taking a third of something, you probably won't have an improper fraction. Because a third will make your stuff smaller. A third of. Are you adding or subtracting or multiplying? A fraction of means you multiply. A third of. The sum of 7/8 and 22/10. You write it like you say it. 22/10. Right there. If you wrote it like that, that's 22/100. That's not how you write it. That's 22/100. That's not it. 22/10 is 22/10. 22/10. Add 2 and 2/10 and 7/10.
So was it wrong to make it into a fraction?
And then, no.
Okay.
And then triple the sum. Triple the sum.
I should be in Harvard.
Now, if you did 2 and 2/10 as a fraction, it would be 2 and 2/10. Like that.
Oh no, because I didn't put just 2/10.
2 and 2/10. Whole number and 2/10. You say it like you write it. 2 and 2/10. Compare expressions 3a and 3b. Which one would give you the greater answer? So without working it. So they're saying 1/2 times 2 and 1/4 minus 3/8, or 2 and 1/4 minus 3/8 divided by 4. Which one would give you an answer with a larger number?
Multiplying by smaller. Yeah, but multiplying by smaller.
Do what?
Yes, multiplying by less.
But I'm multiplying it by a fraction, so technically you're dividing it by 2. Multiplying it by 1/2 is dividing it by 2. Dividing it by 4 is multiplying it by 1/4. Got to do better than that. So A would give you the bigger answer?
Yes.
Why?
Because when you
He always gets his stuff right, so I want someone else to answer. You were saying it because, and you got mad because he interrupted you. Huh?
when you multiply something, identify a fraction, could possibly get a bigger.
But I'm multiplying by a fraction over there. Keep switch flip. But both of these are the exact same problem.
But
That's one number.
Switch, flip.
Wow.
Why?
Because I college.
I say, oh, that's the one.
Your first was
Marlon, please get that off your head.
You're trying to make up another way to make it right. I think it's I think it's math coaching.
Yes, Abby.
I think it's B.
Why?
Because God bigger than Because if you divide by 1 then it stays the same. So like smaller you get cheaper. So that's
I'm in Harvard.
oh no.
Yes, Riley.
Half is bigger than a quarter.
A half is bigger than a fourth.
I know. I was gonna say that.
So, say this is representing the number. My square represents my number. Please stop tipping your chair. That's why I keep staring at you. I'm multiplying it by a half. Boom. I just put it in a half. Okay? Here's my exact same number again. I just multiplied it by a fourth. So there's my answer. There's my answer. Which one is bigger? A. Now, I could actually work it and prove that this is larger. A is bigger. Because this one, you're dividing it by 2. This one, you're dividing it by 4. So you're putting it into smaller pieces.
Can we just make a different thing?
Poor Hadley.
I didn't ask.
So for the first one, you could say 3/4 the sum of let's see, 1 and 7,500. You could have done that in number form. 7,500 and 3/5. As long as you've got 3/4 the sum of those two numbers. Something to that effect. For B, who wants to tell me how you would write that? What did you put?
I put subtract 7/9 by 1/8 times 2/10.
I would say half of that. Okay. What did you put? I would say you need to change one word in there. I would not use the word multiple. Okay.
7/9 take 4 from the total of 1/8.
Okay.
7
Okay. 7/9 minus 1/8 times 2/10. Okay. Well, now raise your hand. Is that a good book? So something to the effect of 7/9 minus, I really hate takeaway. By takeaway always makes me feel like I'm in kindergarten. 7/9 minus the product. Product is what you get when you multiply things. The product of 1/8 and 2/10.
Okay, I have a different one.
What? I would not use factor or multiple. Factor is what you're using when you're simplifying. Multiple is what you're using when it's like 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, C. Oh, you got C. You want to share C? Cameron, what do you do?
The sum of 1 and 75 is 3/5 and 3/5 multiplied by 4.
Okay, the sum of 1 and 75/100 and 3/5. What did you say? Multiplied by 4/3. Okay.
1/8 plus 3/5.
I mean, that one, that stuff is pretty basic. I mean, that problem, I'm not saying y'all stuff is basic. This problem was pretty basic. I'm not saying y'all are basic. So, the sum of 1 and 75/100 and 3/5. So that right there tells me that I've got to add those. And then you can just say times 4/3. So that tells me right there that I've got to put this stuff right here in parentheses and then multiply 4/3 on the outside.
You might not think it's big.
Okay. D. You have to be very, very careful how you word D. Yes, Logan.
2 divided by the sum
No, it was so good until you said one word. Not some.
I have it. Okay. 2 divide 2 by the product of 1/2 and 4/5.
2 divided by the product. You said some, man. I got sad. The product of 1/2 and 4/5. Do not put factor. 2 divided by the product of 1/2 and 4/5. What? Well, you're going like this, Cameron. I'm thinking your hand is up. When your hand is like this, it means my hand's up. So compare the compare the expressions in 5A and 5C. So we have 3/4 times 1 and 75/100. Let's make it plus like 3/5. And then here we have 1 and 75/100 plus 3/5 again times, OMG. Did I eat lunch or did I not eat lunch? 4/3. Which one is the expression that would be less, that would have an answer that would be less without calculating? How would you know which one would be less? Would it be A or C? Which one is less and why? Carlasia, do you know? Why?
Because 4 is bigger than 3 should make it 1 and
1/3.
yeah, that then 3/4 is less because it's just 3 out of 4. Yeah.
So, okay, it's kind of like that, but it's
So are you actually remembering a lesson from just a couple weeks ago?
Yes, maybe.
Oh, indeed. People remembered something.
I remember
Scaling.
I remember. I know how to say it. Please. A is going to be less because 4/3 is greater than 1.
And 3/4 is
It's less than 1.
less than 1. Because 3/4 is less than 1, this product gets smaller. Because 4/3 is greater than 1,
It's going to
this
get bigger.
product is going to get bigger.
Scaling.
Scaling! We did that whole test on scaling. So they're not even asking, this would get smaller than this. Because 3/4 is less than 1. 3/4 is less than 4/3. So this product would be less than that product. Just for comparison. 3/4 is less than 4/3. So this would be less than that. Scaling. We did a whole lesson on it. More than one. Evaluate, which means solve. When you see the word evaluate, it means solve. It's a fancy schmancy word for solve. Actually solve these expressions. So you're going to have 7, A, B, and C, and then D, E, and F on the next page. So you've got 7, A, B, and C, and then on the next page you've got D, E, and F. So solve them. You will get an actual answer. What'd you get?
12.
And it is 12. 9 minus 5 is 4. 4 divided by 1/3. Keep, switch, flip, 12. You should know how to divide fractions by now. I'm not there yet. Have you even heard the word, the letter B come out of my mouth?
No.
Letter B.
5, 6. Wait,
If you didn't simplify, you got 10 12. If you did simplify, you got 5 6. Because 5/3 times, you would have 2 over 1. Can you please stop crinkling that bottle? 1/4. So then 5/3 times 2/4. 10 12 can be simplified by 2, 5, 6.
I have a question. Why couldn't you just make that 2/4 instead of 1/2 in the problem?
I never said you couldn't.
Oh, okay.
Don't you still get 5 6 at the end?
Yeah.
Yep. 1/3 divided by 1 divided by 1/4. What did you get?
12.
You would not get 12. You would get 1/12. So 1/3 divided by, keep, switch, flip. 1/3 divided by 4. Keep, switch, flip. 1/12.
Wait.
1/12. There is nothing but division. Keep, switch, flip. Keep, switch, flip. 1/12.
In the back. Yeah, I put my 1/3 in the back.
I don't know why you're switching your stuff. Why are you switching your stuff? I never taught you that. Never taught you that.
But it was all
Because 8 divided by 4 is totally different than 4 divided by 8. You will not get the same answer. Because this would be 2, this would be a half. 4 divided by 8 is 4 over 8. That's a half. You would not get the same answer. It is not the same thing. You cannot take this and put it in the back. It's totally different. You will not get the same answer. You cannot take your numbers and move them around when you're doing subtraction or division. You can't. You cannot. As you saw, you will not get the same answer. Addition, multiplication, you can. I've said this before. Addition and multiplication, you can. Division, subtraction, you cannot. You have to keep them where they are. 1/2 times 3/5 times 3/3. 5/3.
I got it.
1/2.
Yes.
You got 15/30 or something, somewhere in there. Now, you cannot multiply 3 numbers at the same time. You still have to do 2 at a time.
Oh.
There's more than one way that you can do this.
That's what I did.
All I did was rewrite the problem.
I know.
I didn't do anything. So you can do this, and you would get 3/10 times 5/3, and then you would get the 15/30, which has to be simplified. 5/15, and you get the 1/2. You can do
2.
this one, where it's 1/2 times 15 over 15, which is 1. But if you saw that, you could see that would be 1, and you go, oh, that's 1. So it would be 1/2. But some people don't notice that, and they just multiply away, and they go, oh, 15 over 30. Because some people don't pay attention to what they're doing. You could do, which I saw it this morning, but I didn't do it. You could look here and go, oh, 2.0. 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 5 once, 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 3 once. 1 times 1 times 1. 2 times 1 times 1.
See, I just multiplied all across. I said 2 times 5 times 3.
But that's not always going to work.
I know. It just worked for this problem, so I did.
Do not. Half as much as 3/4 times 2/10.
I don't get it. 3/4. I got it.
If you got 6/80 or 3/40, you got it right. If you got 6/80 or 3/40, you got it right. Because half as much. Half as much. That's not. Half as much is dividing by 2.
I am so happy.
Half as much as 3/4 times 2/10. I've already said you don't do a fraction and a decimal. So you would either need to turn this into a fraction or both of those into a decimal. It would be easier just to turn this into a fraction. How do you say this? 2/10. 2/10. 3/4 times 2/10. 1/2 as much. 1/2 as much. When it's written like that, it's multiplication. Half as much. 1/3 as much. 1/3. Any of that. Half as. 1/3 as. That's multiplying. You're taking a fraction of it.
I have a question. What tells you that's multiplying? Is it as or much?
When it's anything like this, it's The same thing as of.
Okay.
Half of, as much as is the same thing as of.
Okay.
So then it's 1/2 6 over 40. 1 times 6, 6. 2 times 4, 80.
752. Yeah, 340. I'm getting so glad. I'm not answers technically.
Okay. Now, F is a little bit more difficult. I know.
Mm-hmm. I got 430. I know I won. Four.
No. No. No.
Yeah.
It is not. F is 12. Now, you know that I'm going to show you, so I don't know why y'all yelling how at me. You know I'm going to show you. And then you're going to go, oh, okay. 3 times as much as.
3.
3 times. It says 3 times. 3 times as much as.
I got that right.
The quotient, which means divide.
Yeah.
2 4/10 and 6/10. Oh, why did I write that? I'm sorry. Quotient is divide. I don't even know why I wrote that. The quotient of 2 4/10 and 6/10. I don't know why I wrote that multiplication sign. I kind of went there for a minute. 3 times as much as the quotient of 2 4/10 and 6/10.
Keep switch flip?
No.
No.
Those are decimals. Those aren't fractions.
I don't know.
Hold on.
I didn't switch it.
Hold on.
I got it.
What's true?
I haven't taught us how to do that.
Okay. I can do it as a fraction, or I have brought up the dividing with a decimal. I have. When we divided decimals.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah,
I
a
did.
decimal into a decimal.
I did.
No.
I did. It wasn't this quarter. Y'all kind of go, oh, I'm done with that.
You never said a decimal until you
I have.
No.
Now, wait a minute. I did. But it was never tested. So it wasn't emphasized. I have brought it up. It just, yes. It was just not overly taught.
When?
I remember the
Last quarter! Okay. I'm going to show you, and you're going to go, oh, okay, that's not hard. All right. So watch. If you watch, you'll learn. It's easier if you don't turn it into a fraction. I only turn the stuff into fractions when I've got a whole bunch of fractions. Do I have any fractions?
No.
It's easier if you leave it as a decimal on this problem. 6/10 divided into 2 4/10.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, you do not listen. Mouths closed, ears open, eyes on the prize, okay? When you're doing a division problem with decimals, you cannot divide with a decimal on the outside. You cannot do it with a decimal on the outside. You have to move it behind the number. The number of places that I move it here is the same number of places I have to move it here. How many spots did I move it on the outside? 1. So how many spots do I have to move it on the inside?
1.
1.
It's 6 into 24.
It's 6 into 24.
4 times 3 is 12.
Times 3 is 12. I'm done.
I got it. Oh, I was going right track, but
So, this is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Now, you can do it with a fraction. I don't think you're going to have to solve, I don't think you have to solve any of them on the YouTube.
So you literally just take away the decimals, pretty much.
no, you switch it.
I just moved it. You just move it.
Yeah, but the text.
Yeah. Yeah, however far you move it on the outside is how you move it on the inside. Okay, now, I will make it a fraction and solve it that way too. 3 times.
Because I did that first, and then I second guess myself.
Okay, so I'm going to write it like this again, and I'm going to turn these decimals into fractions. So 3 times, how would this look like a fraction?
2 fourths.
2 fourths, 2 and 4 tenths. Y'all have a tendency to like do this incorrectly. 2 is in the ones place. 4 tenths. You write it like you say it. 2 and 4 tenths. Jackson, hi. You pay attention? Awesome. Divided by 6 tenths.
You changed that.
I cannot divide it like it is. 24 tenths divided by 6 tenths.
And then it'd be improper and make it
240.
Keep, switch,
203.
split.
Which does
240 over 60.
and then 2 zeros.
Take one off. Take the other off.
24 divided by 6.
4.
4.
I'm mad about the first one because I did it. And I was like, no, that doesn't make sense. And I switched it.
And it's
I didn't do it the right way. When I had the big improper fraction, I just forgot to
you
simplify
just
by
didn't finish. Yeah, and I was like, why are you doing this improper?
I'm so mad. I am serious. Like,
Oh my. Okay. And this is the last part.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this is actually something that you are going to have to do. Where it's not as bad as you think. Yes. Where you're going to have to read a word story problem kind of thing, and what expression would you use to solve the problem? So here you have 4 choices of an expression. Which one of these goes with the problem? So we have Farmer Green picked 20 carrots. He cooked 2/3 of them and then gave 5 to his rabbits. Write the expression that tells how many carrots he had left. They're not asking you to solve it. They just want you to write here which one of those would you use to answer the question. Which one of these would go with this word problem? Okay, how many of you think that the first one is what would help you solve this problem? 2/3 times 20 minus 5. Okay?
it's probably the right one to be honest. I didn't pick it because it's
All
not
right.
right.
What about B, the second one?
No.
What about C?
No.
I
All right. What about the last one?
I picked that one.
All right, so it's not the last one.
It's the second one.
All right, 2/3 of them.
Oh,
Guys, really?
Again, you did it again.
If that one is the last one.
And he picked 20 carrots. He cooked 2/3 of them and then gave 5 to his rabbits. Which one would really be used?
She just said it's not the last one.
It's not the last one.
It's the first one.
This one would be, he had 20, he gave 5 away. He cooked 2/3 of what he had left. Is that what the problem is asking you? No. This, if you're listening, that one. So with this one, if you're doing your order of operations, parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract, I would do 2/3 of 20 first. Then I would subtract 5. He took 2/3 of the 20. Then gave away 5 of the carrots. That's like 2/3 of a carrot. If you're subtracting 2/3, you're taking away 2/3 of 1 carrot. 2/3 of the carrot. A fraction of means to do what? Multiply. You guys subtracted 2/3. No. 2/3 of the 20 minus 5 carrots. I'm assuming that y'all picked this one because it had parentheses and a 2/3.
Then 23.
Oh, so order of the numbers. No. So y'all didn't even pay attention to the fact that the operation was wrong?
Well, yeah.
No, that's what I said.
2/3 of the carrots. 2/3 of means that you are supposed to multiply. It does not matter that the numbers are in the right order.
So the
Farmer Green picked 20 carrots. He cooked 5 of them and then gave 2/3 of the remaining carrots to his rabbits. Write the expression that tells how many carrots the rabbits will get. Which one of those expressions answers this one? Don't worry about what anybody else did. How many of you think it's the first one? And really, honestly, put the first one. Did you write anything down on your paper? Because I can't tell if you're on the right side. You didn't even write anything down, Michaela. Okay, how many of you think it's the second one? How many of you think can't be the third one? How many of you think it's the last one? Some people didn't raise their hands at all. That's awesome. It is the first one. He picked 20 carrots. Listen. He picked 20 carrots. He cooked 5 of them. And then gave 2/3 of the remaining carrots to his rabbits. It doesn't matter where the 2/3 is. It's multiplication. 2/3 of. This is 2/3 of 20 and 2/3 of 5. Why would you do 2/3 of 20 and 2/3 of 5? That makes no sense at all.
I didn't know. I didn't just make too many of them. Because, like, if it was like the last one, then you subtracted how many you gave those rabbits.
But that's 2/3 of 1 carrot. That's like taking a carrot and cutting off 2/3 of a carrot. This is 2/3 of all of the remaining carrots. 2/3 of 15 carrots. Because you have to do 20, cooking 5 of them, and then taking 2/3 of all of these carrots. That is 2/3 of a carrot. You're like, I don't get it. If you're just doing 2/3, that's like that much of a carrot. But it's 2/3 of all of the carrots, or 15 carrots. 2/3 of those. 2/3 of the remaining. You're just telling me 2/3 of 1 carrot when you're picking that one. And that one, I don't even know what problem that goes with. Doesn't go with any of them. If there might have been more to it that I just didn't copy. I don't think there's anything on the back.
I hope not.